Hello friends, and welcome to a virtual gallery activity from the Missouri History Museum. This activity is part of our January 2020 Virtual Learning and Homeschool Day. The theme for January is St. Louis Stories, and we'll be examining stories, oral histories, and lore from the St. Louis region. My name is Andy, and in this activity, I'm going to teach you some skills historians use to record and preserve oral histories. An oral history is a way of collecting and storing stories of the past by making sound or video recordings. Oral histories are valuable to historians because they let us hear firsthand accounts of historical events from the people who actually lived them. At the Missouri History Museum, we have recorded a huge number of oral histories, and they cover all different topics, from simple, heartwarming stories about everyday life to inspiring stories about topics such as courageous civil rights activists. Today I'm going to show you how we record an oral history, and then together we'll develop a plan so that you can record an oral history of your own. For this activity, you might want to have a piece of paper and something to write with. So pause the video now if you need to go find some. The first step is deciding who our subject or narrator will be. Who are we going to interview? As historians, we act as interviewers and we ask others to tell us their true life stories. When we look for subjects to interview, we might think about who might have an interesting story to tell. Oftentimes, this is a person who is older than us. For example, we have taken an oral history from Percy Green, a civil rights activist who is now in his 80s, and he told us stories of protests he was involved in way back in the 1960s. Now I want you to think about someone in your life who you could interview for an oral history. This could be a parent or a grandparent, a teacher or a friend. Think about what stories that person might tell you, and if they've had experiences which are different from your own. You can pause the video here if you need more time to think. Once you have your person in mind, we can move on. Now that we've chosen our narrator, we need to make a plan for our recording. First, we should think about what we want our narrator to talk about. So is there a specific event or story that you want them to tell, such as their first day of school? Or should we ask them more general questions, such as what their parents were like? Also think about how long you want the interview to last. It could be a quick 10 minutes or a whole hour. Write down some ideas for subjects you might want to talk about and how long you think it will take. Next, we should think about where we want the recording to take place. We want our narrator to feel comfortable, so if possible, recording at their own home would be a good idea. We often invite our subjects to visit the museum for a recording, but we try to make sure they're as comfortable as possible. We might offer them a nice place to sit or a drink in case they get thirsty. If the narrator is comfortable, they'll be more willing to share their story. Write down some ideas for places you could interview your narrator, and you can pause the video here if you need more time to think. Now it's time to get our equipment together. When recording an oral history, the most important thing we need is a recording device. The device we use can be pretty basic or very sophisticated, depending on what kind of quality you want. You can use a cell phone or tablet to record almost anywhere. At the museum, we use special equipment to record the best quality possible because we plan on sharing our oral histories with others. We also often use video, which is not necessary, but it can be a nice addition. However, if you plan on mainly using a recording just for yourself and your family, you may be happy with recording just on your cell phone. Some of the equipment that we might use is a microphone, which you can see right here, as well as a computer to store everything. You're also going to need lots of cables to connect everything together. So think about what type of equipment you'd like to use and write down some ideas. Now it's time to record. Once we have everything set up and our subject feels comfortable and ready to speak, we can begin. We start by saying our name and the subject's name, giving a time and place, and maybe an overview of some topics to be covered. Then you can begin asking questions. Make sure to give your narrator as much time as they need to answer your questions. Remember, it's their story, so let them tell it in their own way. However, it's a good idea to ask follow-up questions if there's something you don't understand or if you want more information. On our YouTube channel, you can find a video of a historian from the museum interviewing civil rights activist Jessie McMillan about her experiences as an activist. This is a good example of how to take an oral history, so I recommend watching it before you do your own recording. And we'll put a link to that in the video description. Now it's your turn to put it all together. Remember the steps we talked about. Make a plan, prepare your equipment, and then interview your narrator. We'd love to listen to your own oral histories, so be sure to tag us at #MHSLearn on social media. That's all the time we have for this virtual gallery activity. However, please check out our many other activities for the January 2020 Virtual Learning and Homeschool Day, such as more activities like this one, virtual workshops, and craft activities. Thanks for joining me, and remember to keep making history.